Hello and welcome from Budapest. This is Hungary Reports, kicking off Public Media M1's foreign language news hour. I'm Árpád Szőci with the latest from Hungary and the Carpathian Basin. Thanks for joining us. Hungary supports efforts by the United Nations to defend the linguistic rights of indigenous and national minorities. That's what Hungary's Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister said at the UN General Assembly in New York City on occasion of an event closing the International Year of Indigenous Languages. Híradó also pointed out that the international community should not tolerate systematic violations of rights, like in Ukraine, where a new education law will do away with schooling in the mother tongues of national minorities amid other restrictions. The Hungarian minority in Ukraine is 150,000 strong. A judge may have to share some of the blame after he released a convict who then killed his own 2 children in Győr before killing himself. Authorities say that experts had advised that the man not be released before serving his full sentence for having attacked his wife. Hungary's Minister of Justice, Judit Varga, has ordered an investigation.
At the scene of the tragedy, candles have been burning for days. In a ground floor flat of this condominium in Győr, a father killed his 10-year-old son and a 13-year-old foster daughter. He then committed suicide. The smileless child, a 6-year-old girl, watched the death of her siblings. The man did not injure her. In 2016, the father almost killed his ex-wife. He attacked her with a hammer while she was asleep. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, he was released after a few months for good behavior and was even allowed child visitation rights. According to Oregon News, the court should be held responsible for this. The newspaper is referring to a report in which the court of Szombathely allowed the release of the 35-year-old man, even though the probation officer and the prison as well did not recommend it. Furthermore, there was no new psychological evaluation, while the old one stated that the father had a limited state of mind. The Tribunal of Szombathely issued a statement in which it stated, "The man sorted out his relationship with his family and made the impression of being a caring and responsible parent." According to criminal psychologist József Vég, the murderer was probably a sociopath who showed a different face to the outside world. He probably planned his deed in advance. He was driven by anger and fury. He wanted to retaliate against his former wife. He was blaming his wife because he ended up in prison, had a more difficult life, and could not live as freely as he wanted. I believe that in order to retaliate against his wife and cause emotional pain to her, he killed the children, the criminal psychologist said. At the beginning of the week, the Minister of Justice ordered a comprehensive investigation to clarify whether there was any neglect in the case of the child murderer. As the Government Information Center wrote, the minister leading the Prime Minister's office will provide information about the government's proposals at its press conference on Thursday.
Experts say real estate prices in Hungary aren't expected to go down over the next few years. The rate of increase in prices might slow down, but homes won't be selling for less. The strong market also means Hungary's economy is strong and families can put up more money. Furthermore, the family home creation program has been a big help.
Condominiums are being built one after the other in the capital. Construction is going on not only here, but all over the country. Detached houses are also springing up like mushrooms. There are many properties up for sale nationwide. During previous years, government family allowances helped spur on the real estate market significantly. More than 120,000 families have already applied for the Family Home Creation Program. And since July 1st, more than 50,000 subsidized baby loans have been disbursed. This interest-free loan is worth approximately 30,000 euros and can be used for any purpose. And in the case of actually having children, it can become non-repayable. Many people have decided to acquire property thanks to this support. Real estate experts expect great interest for family support programs in the future also. There are positive feedbacks both in the case of baby loans and the Family Home Creation Program. We are hoping that in 2020, even more people will plan to acquire new properties and detached houses with these support payments, the sales leader said. 2018 was a record year. Data shows that more than 163,000 properties were sold in the country. However, as stated by the preliminary estimates of the real estate agency Home Center, a 10% decrease is expected this year in relation to 2018. Despite all this, prices have not fallen. Experts do not expect a reduction in prices during the next few years. As the CEO of Home Center pointed out, next year only the rate of rise in price may decrease, but the demand may intensify again in the spring. By 2020, further economic growth is expected. The GDP estimate is 4%. Real wages are increasing. Never before was it possible to get a foreign-based loan at such a good price with a fixed interest. All this projects that no dramatic change is probable, the CEO explained. According to experts, next year may be the year of agglomerations for the real estate market, since it is still possible to find properties with good qualities at affordable prices in the vicinity of Budapest and other cities in the country.
Starting in January, those Hungarians suffering from type 1 diabetes can again count on getting extra support. For a vastly reduced price, they can, for example, get automatic sensor devices for their insulin levels. 4,000 families in Hungary are affected by this disease.
David measures his blood sugar level with a small measuring device and a sensor implanted in his arm. The apparatus shows the current blood sugar level and continuously monitors the values in the 14-year-old boy. This helps him while doing sports, in everyday physical activities, and when it comes to taking medicine. It's easier to adjust my blood sugar level. For example, if the insulin amount isn't enough, then I raise the percentage. If it's too much, then I reduce it. It's much easier like this, David said. A sensor measures the blood sugar level of 4-year-old David, and an insulin pump supplies the right dose of medicine. The little boy has been suffering from type 1 diabetes since he was 1 year old. The sensor itself costs us around 180 euros every 6 months. This amount will go down to about 70 euros by January, as the cost of the insulin pump will be less also. The government will give children 98% support for both devices next year. Type 1 diabetes develops in childhood. It can cause severe eye and cardiovascular diseases. The State Secretary for Family and Youth Affairs, Katalin Novák, said, the government has a comprehensive solution to help people with type 1 diabetes. Life for these families is hard. It's not easy to live with the continuous fluctuation of blood sugar levels, nor to be on continuous standby, Katalin Novák said. The government will also assure a home care fee and a care allowance next year for those who nurse a family member with type 1 diabetes. Furthermore, they will support diabetes centers and civil organizations who help people with diabetes, paying out hundreds of thousands of euros along with reviewing communal catering regulations.
If it's winter, then it's flu season. And for those who want to do something about it, there are ways to protect yourselves. And the best way is by getting vaccinated. In Hungary, 1.5 million people are entitled to it for free, but many don't go for it.
It's only an injection against the flu, yet very few people working in the public sector ask for it. According to the country's chief medical officer, it's advantageous for employees in healthcare and in the social sector to get it. It provides protection for 2 A-type and 1 B-type flus. Both A-types have changed comparably to last year, the chief medical officer said. While the rate of the vaccinations is 100% at intensive care units, in the majority of hospitals it does not even reach 20%. According to an infectologist, half of all free vaccines were utilized last year, while complications from the flu can also be deadly. We have to be aware that millions of cases occur every year around the world, and several 100,000 turn out to be deadly. About 4 to 5% of patients hospitalized because of the flu pass away as a result of it or complications related to it, the infectologist explained. Employees in the healthcare and the social service sectors do not have to pay for the vaccine. The flu season tends to culminate around the end of January or beginning of February.
Visitors to Turi Castle in Várpalota, north of Lake Balaton, will be able to feast their eyes on a specially decorated site. The recently renovated 600-year-old building is one of the finest in the country. It was built in the 14th century and over the ages has been rebuilt a number of times. It got its name from castle commander George Turi, who successfully beat back a Turkish offensive. And an entire kilometer of waterway has been redone in Tata in the north at Malom Creek. Soon the water will be redirected to the settlement's other creeks. The karst water was drying up, but fortunately has come back. It's also a draw for hikers. And that wraps up another Hungary Reports. You can catch the show every night after the Hungarian news at 11 p.m. and online as always. Please stick around now, if you can, for our German, Russian, and Chinese language news. Thanks very much for watching, and viszontlátásra.